Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment of our show brought to you by our good friends at Tennova Healthcare. For the month of September, folks, that's Prostate Cancer Awareness Month, Tennova's primary care physicians are offering same-day appointments for PSA testing. PSA testing saved my life. So I would suggest to you, give them a call at 1-855-836-6682, 855-836-6682 for those of you just sitting there with a pen and pencil. If scoring at home, I guess you could do that. But if you have not had your annual PSA test, folks, it's just a simple blood test. Get in there, do it. It could save your life. It did mine. Tennova Healthcare and all their primary care physicians throughout the month of September, same day PSA testing appointments. Give them a shout. All right, want to welcome back in Bob, Bobby, Jimmy, Will. Want to talk a little bit about Tennessee's schedule. All right. Now, we went into this season thinking that this was going to be the second or third toughest schedule in America. It's ranked that way by just about everyone. Utah State, obviously they play Tennessee tonight. Arkansas State beat a nobody yesterday. Oklahoma, they whipped up on Louisiana Tech. Now you get into the SEC. Georgia, in the first half, second half, that looked like a team. Mm-hmm. I mean, any thoughts, change in perception on Georgia after that game?
No, I didn't think they'd win at Georgia. I think they're not going to win now.
Okay.
If they can curtail their running game a little bit, they might have a chance, but it's
like hold Gurley under 150.
Yeah. Gurley's a beast.
Yeah, he is a beast.
3 touchdowns.
And that offense is very impressive, too. Hudson Mason did a nice job with them. And then the second half, it was almost like they figured out what their new defensive coordinator, Jeremy Pruitt, wanted them to do. They were very impressive in the second half.
I was about to say they've gotten a lot more athletic. They've got a lot of speed, even though they're young guys. Very athletic group that has a lot of speed. So they'll get better over this year, especially with that new system. By the time we play them, they're going to be into the routine of things.
Well, and one thing Pruitt did, he came in there and he simplified Todd Grantham's whole scheme, and the players talked about it all spring about how much communication had improved. They wanted to do just a few things very well instead of everything mediocre, and they did yesterday, especially in that second half. Florida, odd situation last night with the rain out at the Swamp.
I like Tennessee's chances as long as the field conditions are appropriate.
It's a one-play game.
Yeah,
right.
how about that?
I didn't bother to see what Chattanooga did yesterday. Ole Miss didn't look particularly fantastic against Boise State. Boise State not expected to be up to snuff at their normal level. Your thoughts on the Ole Miss game? If Bo Wallace turns the ball over like he did and like he has in the past, I think Tennessee's got a shot.
It's hard for me to put a lot into that first game that Ole Miss played.
Right.
But I was surprised they did not look, whereas Georgia looked much more athletic than I thought they might be. Ole Miss didn't look quite as athletic, and I can't talk either.
That's all right.
As I thought
You're doing good.
Thank you.
I didn't think their wide receivers had shown much improvement from last year, where you thought some of those guys, they really were not breaking away from the competition in that game. And I think it's going to come down to, is Bo Wallace inconsistent throughout the year? If he is, then it's going to be a matter of when you catch them and what day you catch him.
I think in 2 years in one game, he's now thrown 30-plus interceptions, and that's not good enough for Hugh Freeze. Laquan Treadwell, a guy that got all kinds of hype this offseason, did catch a touchdown in that game, but I agree with you. He didn't look like a guy that had taken a massive step forward. Alabama. I think if you'd told us that Alabama would struggle on one side of the ball, we'd think, well, it's the offense. Offense rolled up 530 yards under Lane Kiffin. Defense gave up a little bit more than you thought, and they gave up a special team score as well. Thoughts on Alabama?
They're not as good in the secondary as they have been. They're a little bit vulnerable there. They didn't play without their best linebacker, Troy DePriest, but God, those two running backs, Yeldon and Derrick Henry, they'll line up and beat a lot of people just with those two.
Just because they can run the ball and control it.
Yeah.
I'd say they're going to play a lot of games where the other team's close in the third quarter. And then it's just going to be eaten away through the end of that third quarter and the fourth quarter. That's where a lot of teams are going to lose that game against Alabama.
At South Carolina, that game does not look as difficult now as it did going into the season. Now, the question is, how darn good is Texas A&M? Because they ran all over, passed all over, ran all over South Carolina. I was surprised at how much ease they had cutting through the Gamecocks.
Beat them at the line of scrimmage.
A team that won 18 in a row at home.
But it couldn't happen to a better guy.
But the thing about South Carolina, even as good as they've been under Spurrier, they have a tendency to lay an egg during the season. So was that the one-off that they had and they'll come back and be better, or is that their season?
Roosters don't lay eggs. Sorry.
And I can't say the word athletic.
Kentucky. Now, they beat UT Martin. Everyone expected that. But The transfer running back from Nebraska, who was once a top 5 recruit nationally, had a pretty big day yesterday. Hurd had a couple of long touchdown runs. Mark Stoops has brought some talent in there. I mean, I don't know, they're not on level with what Butch Jones has done at Tennessee, but Kentucky is putting more talented players on the field than we've seen in a while. Then you got Missouri, who had a so-so win over South Dakota State. Vanderbilt trounced, turned the ball over 15 times, which will do that to you, but absolutely trounced by Temple, a team that won, 2 games last year, 1 game last year. Thoughts on the back half of the schedule for Tennessee?
I don't put a lot of stock yet in Kentucky. I want to see him play a team with some resistance. But Vanderbilt, that was terrible. And I've talked to some people that follow that program, and they think Derek Mason's a nice guy. They're not really sure if he's the right guy. Of course, after 1 game, that game was 7-7 midway in the second quarter. I was stunned the way Temple routed them after that.
Well, I mean, in the conditions, the weather was not good.
Yeah, they had to start late.
Did
too.
that have to have some? Did that have a little bit to do with it too? That it was raining horribly.
And does this take the typical Vanderbilt turn, which is as you lose another game, your guys become less confident, less wanting to be a part of the team anymore. So, I mean, I think that game becomes very, very winnable and is pretty much may look like the old Vanderbilt by the end of the year.
All right. Very good,
I like
guys.
the way you talk.
Very good. Appreciate it. Bobby, I know you got to run. We'll see you right back here on the Sports Source all fall long, which we appreciate you for being here. When we come back, which areas of Tennessee's team should you feel good about going into tonight? Which one should you feel a little bit worried about? We'll discuss that. Come on back on the Sports Source.
Quality, quick. Trust Fast Frame.